Welcome! Have you ever wondered how your information stays safe online? Every time you buy something or send an email, you're trusting that your private data is, well, private. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the beautiful mathematical secret that makes it all possible. It turns out some of the simplest numbers you can imagine are actually the guardians of our entire digital world.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the big problem, sending secrets. Then, we'll use a really simple analogy, a suitcase in a public square, to wrap our heads around the solution. After that, we'll get into the math and meet the heroes of our story, see how they create a basically unbreakable lock, and finally, we'll see how these primes are protecting all of us every single day.
So, let's start with a story. Imagine a guy named Rob. He's just started an online business, which is awesome, but he's got this huge problem. He needs his customers to send him their credit card info, but just having them type it into a regular form is kind of like yelling it across a crowded room. Anyone could be listening in. Not great for business.
So this brings us to a really fascinating puzzle. Is it possible to create a lock that anyone can snap shut using a method that's totally public, but that only one specific person can open? It sounds like a complete paradox, right? But the answer, believe it or not, lies in some incredibly elegant math.
Okay, before we even touch the numbers, let's picture how this could work in the real world. This is just a simple analogy, but it's perfect for understanding the logic that modern encryption is built on.
So here are our two people, Rob and Sam. Rob needs to get some secret documents from Sam. The catch? They can't meet up, and they have to do the whole exchange out in the open, where anyone could be watching.
Rob comes up with a pretty clever plan. He takes a really strong suitcase, leaves it wide open, and puts it in a busy public square. Then he just tells Sam, "Hey, the open suitcase is over there. Anyone walking by can see this thing."
So Sam walks up to the open suitcase, drops the secret documents inside, and closes the lid. Right now, the secret is in the box, still just sitting there in public.
And here's the magic. Sam snaps the lock shut. Now, this is a special kind of lock. You don't need a key to lock it, but you definitely need one to open it. And here's the most important part. Only Rob has the key, the one and only key. At this point, even Sam can't get back into that suitcase.
So Rob can come back whenever he wants, use his unique private key, pop open the suitcase, and get the documents. The secret was passed along completely safely, even though the whole exchange happened right out in the open.
That whole suitcase idea? That's the heart of what we call public key cryptography. The unlocked suitcase is the public key. It's out there for anyone to use. Rob's personal key is the private key. He keeps that totally secret. So how on earth do you build a system like this using just numbers? Well, the answer starts with some very, very special numbers.
Let's meet the star of the show, the prime number. It's a simple idea, really. A prime is any whole number bigger than 1 that you can only divide evenly by 1 and, well, itself. So numbers like 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, those are all primes. 6, on the other hand, is not, because you can divide it by 2 and 3.
And this is what makes primes so cool. The definition is so simple you could teach it to a kid, but their behavior, where they pop up on the number line, is one of the deepest mysteries in all of mathematics. They're simple and incredibly chaotic all at the same time.
There's this amazing rule in math called the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. It basically says that you can build any whole number by multiplying a unique set of prime numbers together. Think of it this way. Primes are like the atoms for numbers. They're the basic fundamental building blocks for everything else.
So, let's see how we can use this special property of primes to create our digital suitcase. We need a system that's really easy to do in one direction, but almost impossible to do in reverse.
And this is the secret sauce. Check this out. If I give a computer two absolutely enormous prime numbers, I'm talking hundreds of digits long, it can multiply them together in a flash. Super easy. But if I just give you the answer and ask you to find the two original primes I started with, that's called factoring. And for a big enough number, that task is basically impossible. Not just hard, impossible. Even for the fastest supercomputers in the world, it could take trillions of years. It's a perfect one-way street.
This whole idea, easy to multiply, impossible to factor, is the bedrock of the most famous system for this stuff, called the RSA algorithm. It's named after the three guys who invented it, Rivest, Shamir, and Adleman. They're the ones who figured out how to turn this cool math fact into a world-changing security tool back in the 70s.
So how does it actually work? Well, let's walk through it. First, Rob secretly picks two huge prime numbers, P and Q. He multiplies them to get an even bigger number n. Now, n is our public suitcase. Everyone can know what n is. Then, using some clever math with his secret primes, he makes two keys. There's a public key, E, that's the open lock he can give to anyone, and then there's his private key, D, which he keeps totally secret. So anyone can use E and N to lock a message, but only Rob and his secret key D can unlock it. Okay, this math might look a little scary, but the idea is actually pretty simple. To lock up a message, you just combine it mathematically with that public key, E. To unlock it, you combine the scrambled code with the private key, D. And that mod n part, that's something called modular arithmetic. Just think of a clock. If it's 10 o'clock and you add 4 hours, you don't get 14 o'clock, you get 2 o'clock, right? The mod n just makes sure all the numbers stay wrapped around inside a certain range, our suitcase n. It's the little bit of magic that makes the two keys work together perfectly.
Now, this is not just some cool idea on a blackboard. This math is humming along quietly in the background of our lives every single second of every day. It's the invisible foundation of trust for our entire digital world.
I love this quote because it just nails it. These numbers, which for centuries were just a mathematical curiosity, are now on the front lines, protecting all of our secrets from anyone trying to snoop.
So where do you see this in action? Well, literally everywhere. Every time you see that little padlock icon next to HTTPS in your web browser, that's primes. Every time you type in your credit card number online, that's primes. Encrypted emails, digital signatures that prove who you are, it's all powered by the same incredible idea. So at the end of the day, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The safety of your bank account, your private messages, trillions of dollars moving around the globe, it all boils down to one simple fact. Multiplying two big prime numbers is easy, but factoring the result back into the original two primes is just ridiculously, unbelievably hard.
It's a wild thought, isn't it, that these ancient, fundamental building blocks of math are what's guarding our super complex, modern digital lives. It really makes you wonder, what other simple, beautiful ideas are hiding in plain sight, just waiting in the language of math to change our world all over again?